What's going on? This is Zachary Delano Middleton. I'm a young adult fiction author. And the way that I seek to connect with the public is through a vlog called Grace to Cultivate. It's a LLC. And what I do is I try to create value for my target audience, target reader, that sort of thing. And so what I want to do to create value for you guys is I want to tell you about our social media calendar, schedule. I've been posting since June 19th of this year, and what I want to do is just to kind of open the back door, so to speak, and be able to show you the X's and O's, if you will, of our posting and our posting schedule. And through that process, I want to share with you 12 things that I learned this year, specifically for those creatives who desire to either authors or they're creatives or they're musical artists, that sort of thing, and they want to leverage social media. And these are just some of the things I learned. Okay, so first off, what I want to do is I want to kind of define, I guess, why I decided to get into posting through or giving this particular post. And the three reasons that I decided to share this post. Well, first, I wanted other people to be able to learn from my mistakes or experiences. I think sometimes we have a tendency to try to hide those things, but I think that those things will help other people as they're trying to build their own brand, start their own, whatever they're trying to do from a creative standpoint. And so I want to share that with you, and hopefully you won't have to go through the same obstacles that I had to personally. Second reason, I want it to be a benchmark. I want it to be a benchmark so we can look back and hopefully at 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, 10 years and say, wow, look where it came from, where we came from. And so we can kind of see the growth and see a benchmark or a starting point, if you will. I hate to use the word starting point, but we're 6 months in, so it's still pretty new in terms of this brand and us being able to go forth. And so, but I think it's good to be able to see that. Last but not least, anytime we do anything, I think through social media, it's a form of marketing, right? So even like the poster behind me, or when I talk about the book Running After Delano, these are different things or marketing tools that we use to create value for the target audience. So really quickly, what do our numbers look like this year? Well, this year, from Facebook, we were at 331 likes at the recording of this video. I believe this is the 20th of December, 20th of December, the week of Christmas. I'll be like that, the week of Christmas in December of 2021. And we had 331 likes to 346 follows on Facebook. And what I would say, those follows are somewhat of an extension of my own personal network. Just asking people to have relationships and to talk about what I was doing, and that was a good connection point. And also, it was the extension of our guests. Facebook, I would say, is I've heard I think Gary Vee, some of the other creative or the influencers would say that it's kind of like a picnic. You know, if you want to use an analogy for social media, everybody's kind of on there, and so anytime you have a major victory or a guest that people can connect to, people have a tendency of connecting the dots to your Facebook platform or group. Our Instagram had 112 likes or follows. People are connecting to the brand. I feel like I put a lot of content into it, or a lot of work into it. I would say. Hindsight being 2020, I wish I had done more things that are tied to photographs. Still trying to, all of them still trying to figure out. But Instagram, I feel like I put a lot of work into it, but it didn't pay the I guess the dividends of some of the other ones. Pinterest is really interesting. A lot of content there, but for most of the time, I would say 90-95% of the time, I had it as a personal page. And you can actually do a business page on Pinterest. And so if I had to encourage anybody, they want to get started moving, consider doing a business page on Pinterest. The reason why is you can see the back side of it and see that we had, I think, 1.8 thousand monthly views. And so even though those people didn't turn to followers, it seems like on Pinterest, people are more like window shoppers, and they get an opportunity to see kind of what we're doing, but they don't necessarily follow. TikTok, and I'll talk about it a little bit, is probably the most effective of all the social media because of how new it is and how potent it is right now. Imagine being on YouTube in 2010, right? Years ago, where all you had to do is post something and boom, it went from there. And that's kind of what TikTok is. You can post something with a simple description, keep it short and simple, and the actual TikTok will take off from itself from that. Also, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is I would say the bulk of our growth on LinkedIn. We're at 211 LinkedIn, TikTok 64. But the bulk of our growth on LinkedIn was the fact that at the end of each month, they give you 100 new invitations. You take those 100 invitations and you just invite your network, the people you already are connected to, and you can slowly but surely grow it from there. Last but not least, that we're going to talk about today is our YouTube. And so we have 18 subscribers on YouTube, and all together. And of course, there are probably some that overlap in some way, but we have about 740 connections. Very, very minimal cost. I think I did maybe like a $10 marketing deal on Facebook, and as I shared before, I have like a monthly membership with Canva, and so I don't pay a whole lot of money. A lot of what I think we've done so far could be done for free, and so that's just FYI. But I think it's one of the best ways to connect with your target audience, to connect with a lot of people for very little to no cost. I would say that when I think of social media, I'm not thinking of it as a way of a personal kind of come up for me or that sort of thing. But my thought process with Canva, or excuse me, with social media in general, is I think of it as a dynamic newsletter. It's more of a dynamic newsletter than it is some sort of way for me to get a lot of people to pay attention to me, that sort of thing. But from that newsletter, I think you can launch your brand, you can help people, you can do a lot of different things. But I think it starts with a dynamic newsletter that is social media. All right, and as I said, I think at the beginning of the video, I have an actual blog, and I'll put it in the description if you want to read everything that I'm saying. But I want to just hit the fine points, and I was able to come up with 12 things that we learned from this year moving forward. First thing is I would solidify your message first. Whatever you do, I think that there's so many different social media platforms. It's easy to change what you're trying to say and try to fit this particular platform or fit this. Don't worry about that. Focus on what you're trying to say and how you're going to communicate that, and adjust what you're saying to fit the medium or fit the individual social media network, platform, etc. I would say social media and social responsibilities. Number two, that even though just want to say, well, it's not my fault what people do when you put the video out there. I think we still have the responsibility to tell the truth on our platforms. Still have the responsibility to communicate effective and ethical products and services to our consumer. I think we have the moral responsibility to try to represent the brand in the best way possible, and to not try to destroy our customers or the people who are our followers, but to give them I think positive and relevant and helpful information, and not just waste their time or hurt them in some way. Because I think the thing about social media is the fact that what's on the other end of the camera. The other person doesn't, right? They just hear what you're communicating or your version of the story, but what's on the other end. And so I think we have a responsibility to our consumers whenever we're putting out products. I believe we're not just the person, plus, and play, but we're also leaders in a lot of ways. Number three, so I would say social media is not, if we were going to use an analogy to a restaurant, it's not the main course, right? No way, shape, or form of social media should be seen as the main course, but it's a really good sauce. It's a really good sauce, and what sauce does, of course, is it gives you a unique voice, a unique brand, if you will, as a way of you can not only you can attract a lot of people to what you're trying to do and what you're trying to communicate, but it shouldn't take the role of the ingredients of giving a great product, service. In my case, to be able to write a good novel, or to write good content. Also, when it comes to actual sales, I still got to pick up the phone, talk to people, call different schools, trail programs, things like that, set up meetings, set up times where I can actually sell the products. It doesn't change the operations of the business. It's just a vehicle to get the word out in an effective and inexpensive way. 4, never stop learning. When we start, so when I say learning, I'm not saying one, you want to learn about whatever your craft is, but also never stop learning about the actual social media, various platforms. So each social media platform has their own space that is a designed for the creator. And so you can go to YouTube creators, TikTok creators, Facebook creators, and you can learn from each platform. And one of the reasons I would argue that you could trust each platform is because what they're trying to do is they're trying to draw more attention to the platform. So they're really telling you how the algorithm actually works. They're doing it in a user-friendly way, but they're telling you how the algorithm works, because if you work well, then they work well. And so that's kind of the thought process, I would argue. And so take it with a grain of salt. I mean, you still have to write the content, do it the way that you're going to present it, but it's worth your time to, I think, learn and listen to how that they're structuring the algorithm for each social media platform. So 4, never stop learning, but specifically the social media algorithm and the platform, and that usually come through a channel that's called the creators channel. So one of the things that I think with Grits to Cultivate in any business, we're trying to create ways to create value for our consumer, create value for the people that we're serving. That's a huge part of it. And so when we think critically about different means of helping your customer, I think ultimately that leads to a developed business relationship. And so if you guys see any of the content we produce, a lot of the content is called the Imagine Exposure Podcast. Well, some people don't think about, like, how does that create value? Well, long story short, when I was a kid, my mom made sure that me and my brother watched every episode of positive representation, specifically of African Americans, that had links or would have links to our community, not just African Americans, but in large part. And what she was trying to do was to try to give us a visual of what was possible, to kind of imagine the possibilities. And so one of the things that I noticed, even from I've had the opportunity to do some substitute teaching and things like that in the past, is one thing I noticed is that there's a lot about, from an academic standpoint, I did some, teaching through a teaching program as well, but there's a lot in education about getting from A to B, and there's a lot about going to college, but I don't think there's enough of those who are crafts people actually just sitting down with what do they have to do well in their craft, And so what I wanted to do is to create a podcast where you can go to one place and you can click through 101 different people. And they're not just African American, like I said, it's different ethnicity backgrounds will be represented, that sort of thing. But high quality people, I would say just high character people. Most of the people that you're seeing are friends of mine, and that I think will extend, as hopefully the years go by. But a person can click on to that list of people or craftspeople represented, and they can learn learn the craft from a craftsperson. And I think that will create a lot of value for parents and for educators who are trying to engage young people. And so that develops a working relationship that will hopefully lead to the sales relationship in the future. And so what are some things like that in terms of your programming and your content that's going to create value for your consumer? And so that's what we're trying to do. And number 5 is one thing I would encourage every creative or every business is to think of ways to create value. 6 is the Canva app. And so the Canva app is by far it's our MVP. If you had to look at all, we have, I think, 7 total social media platforms that are represented. Canva is the MVP because on the Canva app, what you're able to do is to literally make your thumbnails in such a way and make your content in such a way that you can create a great dynamic visual, whatever platform you're on. And so I would highly recommend go to canva.com or check out the Canva app. Number 7, TikTok is most effective. By effective, I mean efficient, I guess. You can literally put a brief description in your TikTok and drop a link and or drop the video and drop the description, and TikTok does everything else. I mean, literally, when I posted my first couple of videos, I literally didn't do anything else. I just posted it, and boom, TikTok it went off. And I would say in I think our second episode, we had Bridget Hickman, who did an incredible time talking about being a technology specialist. She had over 1,000 views in less than a weekend, and so it was just like, wow, like, I mean, it is. I would equate it to, what would it look like if you started a YouTube channel in 2005? That's really what Canva is. What would it look like if you started a TikTok channel or a YouTube channel years ago? That's what CNN.com also has an article just saying that it's actually surpassed YouTube in the sense of how long users are staying on to actually watch content. And what's interesting is the content is short content, but they're staying on because they want to see other YouTube videos. And I would argue that YouTube, in my opinion, is pushing all the other platforms. You see Instagram Reels, you see YouTube Shorts. Like, I feel like a lot of that is coming out of that YouTube Flare era, you know, or excuse me, the TikTok. TikTok is kind of setting the tone for those other platforms, in my opinion. And so that's 7. TikTok is the most effective. I think Pinterest is the most underrated, because with Pinterest, it's like a trailer for your thoughts, right? Like a movie trailer. Think of a movie trailer, but not just for a movie, but if you're doing a vlog, if you're doing a book, if you're doing anything that's creative. Also, if you have, let's say you have a clothing brand, you're doing shoes, you're doing anything that's creative, it's a short little way to help people connect the dots to what you're doing. I try to, people kind of come for guys who have Pinterest and things like that or whatever, just in terms of the historical side of that or whatever. But I try to say it's in my opinion, it's like the old East Bay catalogs. If you remember the old East Bay catalog, so you're talking about like, I remember my older cousins, they would, shop for shoes or shop for any type of clothing, apparel, outfitters, that sort of thing. That's what people are doing. And so you can use that digital space to create value for your brand. I will put a link in from Evergreen Authors who create incredible value, explain how authors and creatives, I would say it ties into creatives, how creatives can use it as they're trying to push out their various brands and things of that nature. Number 9, one thing I would say that the best financial investment that we made on social media was we did a Kickstarter campaign, right? And so on that Kickstarter campaign, by God's grace, it made over $3,000 in terms of people willing to invest startup capital. But a large bulk of that just happened through social media. We just had various direct messages and people saw different things being posted. And that was the bulk of what people did. And some people donated or I would say contributed. Donated often kind of is tied to nonprofit, but we're a for-profit, we're a business. And in the business that people donated towards or contributed towards, I guess more accurately, we were able to raise our startup capital goal. And so that's something for any creative that's considering getting started. I can put that link in the video as well. And so that's something to consider. Number 10, LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is grown. I would say what I've seen is grown primarily through invitations. So let's say you start a group. Every month they give you an allotment of how many of your personal friends you can ask to be part of your group. And so every month I've been getting 100. And so I just kind of put it to the side earlier, but when I really look at the growth in the side, we're at 211 right now. When I look at the growth came from, in my opinion, it came from LinkedIn. It came from the invitations. And so what I would have done going back, if I could go back, I would be very intentional about the first of every month, inviting new people, because like I said, that's the bulk of our growth. Number 11, the next thing is the thumbnail on YouTube, right? And so, true story, about 24 hours ago, I had one of the first videos that I post on our YouTube channel. It was called What is Grace to Cultivate? It's like a general vision cast. We had about 168 people view that video. I changed the thumbnail, and I'll try to put it up on the screen, or I'll put it in a different way you can see it. But I literally just changed the thumbnail. As a result of changing the thumbnail, we got 11 new views. So imagine 6 months getting 168 views, one 24-hour period of changing the thumbnail, going from where we were with 168 to going up 11 in just one 24-hour cycle. And so what it seems like is that whoever that user is, they're trying to pick which ones or which thumbnail is the best. They're trying to pick, like, should I go with A, B? If you don't know anyone, you're not only picking the thumbnail that you think is the best, but the one that, as a result of seeing, I get an understanding of what's happening during the video. And so that's one of the ways that you can do that. You can help people see what's going to happen in the video if you give a good little caption. Canva, like I said, has some great resources, very inexpensive resources that you can use to make a better thumbnail. Literally that first screen, not even the content. I think we have incredible content, but we didn't have great thumbnails. We were just trying to take videos, and people, if you don't know this person, you're going to make a selection based on, okay, this person has 3 subscribers, this person have 1,000, I'll go with 1,000. Like, those are what people are seeing. And so one of the ways you can compete with having a limited amount of subscribers and not the same cloud or whatever is to make better thumbnails. And you can do that through Canva. Last but not least, have a purpose bigger than likes and general affirmation. I think that should be number one, probably, but I think it's important to state and restate, because like this year, even though I feel like we've been pretty successful, there have been times where I'm like, man, I think we put out over 140 YouTube videos and we have 18 subscribers. So it's not where I would like to be, right? But at the same time, I think we are making progress. And so, and I've been told that you make more as your brand gets larger, that sort of things, you make progress in a quicker amount of time. But when you're a small fish, if you will, like, you're not going to make the same progress. And so, it's something to consider, something to think about. But in 2021, this is what I learned. This is a new brand, and I am learning as I go, but I want you to learn from my mistakes. And so I really appreciate your time. If you want to support our brand, check us out. We're at gracetocultivate.com, or you can just go to @gracetocultivate. Any of those platforms that I've named: Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook. I have a personal Twitter, but from a brand standpoint, we have a TikTok. We have those other brands that I kind of mentioned, LinkedIn. And so check out those. I may put something, you can check out our link tree, which should be connected to our videos. And so I appreciate your time. But these are the 12 things that I learned in the first year of our launch as an author/creative. I appreciate you guys. You have a good one.